Hi guys, so I had a question from a student and I thought it was a good opportunity to make a very quick video, as quick as I can. The question was around why some and come seem to be exceptions to this bossy E rule. Well, the quick answer is that they have nothing to do with bossy E, magic E, or split digraphs, whatever you want to call them. What we need to understand for some and come is firstly that they're two distinct words. I try to avoid the word exception because they're not an exception necessarily to anything, but they are distinct. They're very common words, and there's no other words that fit this spelling pattern of the O-M-E representing A plus M. Now, why would the letter O be representing A? Well, firstly, it's not that uncommon at all for the letter O to be representing the A sound. And this is why I'm really, really passionate about spreading the message of going from speech to text. So first we have to analyze the sounds that we hear in a word and then look at how that word is represented. Now you might say, oh, but how am I supposed to do that when I'm reading? Well, when we're teaching students how to read and learning how to read, we have to show them how the English language works. And writing didn't come first. Speech came first. So we spoke, we communicated through oral language, and then at some point in time, over a long period, writing was invented, and that writing was a representation of what we were saying. Now, writing is not, in English, is not just representing our speech sounds, it also represents morphology, and we really have to understand the history of the words to truly understand the spelling. But if we think about words as being representations of our speech, it's a lot more sensible. It really makes a lot more sense than if you look at a word and try and think about the sounds that the letters are making. I would like to never hear a teacher ever again or a parent say, what in this word, what is the letter C? What sound is the letter C making? The letter C doesn't make a sound. That's not its job. The letter C can represent certain sounds that we speak on paper. Okay? Now you might think, oh, same, but it's not, because once you sound out a word first and then look at how we use combinations of letters to represent those sounds, you start to see that the English language actually isn't full of exceptions. It's actually quite an ordered and learnable system, but it is complex. And one of those complexities is in relation to words like some and come, because we need a historical layer. So there's always a reason for why a word is spelt a certain way. And I argue that even our struggling students really benefit when a word isn't sticking from having a narrative to help them hook into why this particular word might appear strange. So firstly, we should be talking about with words like some and come that quite often we have the sound represented by O, so in words like love, above, other, cover, for example. So they're words that the children will learn quite early in their literacy journey. And then we can explain to them that actually the words used to be spelt more like what you would expect. So the letter O wasn't there, and for the sound, the letter U was used. But there was a problem. Once upon a time, not everybody got to write, and this was the way that the scribes wrote. And I think this is a really important thing to remember, that once upon a time, only a select group of people could and were able to write. And this is what the writing of that time looked like, which is called minims. And you can see that it's very difficult to distinguish between certain letters. And so a decision was made that before an M or an R or an N, if there was a letter U, it would be spelt with a letter O, particularly for those really important words that we wanted to ensure weren't confused. So some and come are very common words that are used. Other words that also were impacted by this were words like monk. That would have been important because the scribes were usually from a religious domain. And tongue, for example. So tongue used to mean language, so that would have been a common word. And for some reason worm as well, because it used to be spelled W-U-R-M. So they decided that because in writing we want to make sure that the message is clear, we're going to use the letter O instead. And what happened was when you write it enough, it sticks, and that's how we've continued to write it over time. So the message here is that it's not just, firstly, letters don't make sounds. They represent the sounds that we speak. We have to go from speech to text, or better, we have to go from speech to meaning to text. So we have to listen for the sounds, think about what the word means, and then think about how it's written. And we have to also understand the narrative behind the story. Now, are you going to look at the etymology of every single word? Absolutely not. Etymology is there to support us, our own understanding, so we can see that there's sense. But it is also very helpful for truly exceptional words, or those words that children are struggling to stick with, giving them an understanding of why that word looks that particular way, or how it's representing meaning, for example, how it's connected through its history to other words, really supports how we process things in our long-term memory. So generating lots of understanding at a deeper level is going to help students. So I hope you found this interesting, and if you want more of the etymology stories, just look up some of my videos on different words, and I talk about this all the time. So enjoy. Bye.